Hi YouTube, it's Catherine Michelle. Sorry I've been gone for a while, but to be honest, I've been just like really lazy lately. I've been doing a lot of research and reading, but I haven't been doing videos because, well, I've been binge watching Dexter on TV. So there's a plug for Dexter. But anyway, today we're going to talk about the position of Komel's hand in the sketches. I'm going to put back up the two sketches that were in the previous video. The first sketch being one that was recently given out as part of an FOIA that Greg Fernandez Jr. was able to obtain, which is different from the sketch that was provided in the first set of 400 plus pages. And also in the description of how her body was found. And you will notice that depending on who's writing the report, you will see bodies were moved. Now, the first responding officers, I'm still working on that. I'm working on who the first responding officers were and then who next showed up inside and comparing their visual of what they saw with the other person's visual of what they saw. And in between, which is probably highly likely, they allowed other people in, but one of the police officers, if not more than one, moved the bodies. There's no other explanation for how it was. But go ahead and take a look at the two sketches, and then we're going to talk about the body positions. Okay, as you saw in the first one, I'm going to go with the original one, the first one. You clearly see Komel's left hand, arm, well, her hand was missing, but at this point they didn't know. Because in their first description, they said that she was missing one hand that they could tell. The left is underneath the abdomen. Now, there is no way that Paleo could have gotten to that hand. It's impossible. It's underneath her abdomen. Her body was not moved by that dog. So that means the only conclusion that can is the hand was missing before she was placed in that position, which then means the dog didn't eat it. So where's that hand? Where are all the bones to that hand? To three hands that are missing. No, I will never buy the story that the dog ate all those bones. There's just, the feces, as we know, were not tested. The dog's stomach contents were not tested. He wasn't x-rayed from what I can tell. And if they have, they're not releasing that information. And there just is no proof that the dog ate these. There's a couple of spots in the house where it looks like maybe he ate some of it, probably because he was licking it. Because I could swear there's one, and we'll cover that in the dog feces video, but there's one spot where it looks to me like vomit and not dog poo. But the rest is normal looking dog poo. And most of it, as you will notice, will be downstairs, and it's not a lot, and we'll go through all those. Okay, I need to see on topic. We're going to stick with the position of the hand today. So if Paleo couldn't get to Komel's left hand, and her right hand and what was left of her head was close to the couch on the floor, how did that leave room for the dog to be able to get to that hand? If it's going to be tugging on a hand, her arm would be flopped out in a whole different direction. It's not. It is lying straight up this way. She's face down, straight up, hand missing, couch maybe here. How did the dog get to her head? Her body isn't moved. This is, people keep saying that dogs do eat their owners. Yes, they do. And loving dogs do eat their owners. That is not anything that could be contested because it's fact. It's what dogs do. I am saying that Paleo did not do all this damage that was done to these three bodies. And it's interesting to note that only certain parts of their body are missing. And also you will notice the position of Rania. At first, she is lying between her mother's legs. And then in a photo, it shows that her body has been moved and placed on top of her leg between her mom and her dad. Now, whichever officer, whichever one of you guys moved that little girl, you disgust me. That is appalling how you left her body and then took a photo of it. That is so disrespectful of that little girl. You know, I keep trying to give you guys the benefit of the doubt because you only had 6 murders in 13 years that you were pretty much freaking clueless, although you had at your disposal huge departments. Apple Valley is not that far from Minneapolis. Hennepin County is huge. You had at your disposal people who could have helped you figure this out, but you didn't do it. Why? Why? You can't explain yourselves, but y'all shut down. Nobody wants to talk about it. When somebody calls your office and says, hey, there's new information, they get slammed and shut down saying, the case is closed, we're not opening it. Why? Are you afraid they're going to find something? We've already found it. We have found, and I have more on my list of inconsistencies, by the way. We are down to 39 at this point, and I haven't even, I'm not even through the reports. But okay, again, I digress. Back to the pictures. Now, remember, Komel is laying this way, face down, left hand under her abdomen, arm up like this, couch like right here, roughly right here. David was to the left, and then Rania was initially found between her mother's legs who were spread out. And then she was lying, I believe, on her left side. Don't quote me, I'll need to go back and look at that. I'll look at the sketch, but you'll see in the initial position of her body compared to where then they decide to make it the official report on the body positions was after they were moved. And then one of the police officers were one of the ones who pushed up David's sleeve to see his tattoos. Now, I don't know if that's protocol. I don't know if they had the right to do that at that point before any of BCA got there or whatever, because BCA gets there and in their report, they state that his arm sleeve was already rolled up and then they're looking at tattoos. So how do we know that these officers were even wearing gloves? We have a gun that was moved. They cleared the scene. There's nobody there. They shut it down. Why did they move the gun? There was no reason to move that gun. They had officers outside. They were inside, clearing it room by room and floor by floor. That gun posed no threat, but yet now we don't even know what the position is. The gun is located, according to their sketches, anywhere from a few inches to a foot to the south of David's hand. A few inches to a foot? That's quite a distance. Again, I digress. We have to look at this logically. And I know so many people keep saying that they see nothing out of the ordinary. And I don't see how they can't see out of the ordinary. How did the dog get to her hand? How? Explain that aspect to me. It can't be explained. The dog did not eat her left hand. It was missing prior. So anyway, there's just so much on this case. And I mean, it's heartbreaking. And this isn't the only case, unfortunately, that is treated this way. You know, I've been written to emails, people write to me, which is great. I appreciate it. Thank you. But some are officers, some are medical people, some are people who knew the family, some are people who were clients of the family. And especially the officers. Some of the officers are saying, oh, this is exactly what it looks like. You guys just don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, but I'm presenting to you what doesn't fit. I mean, and then they don't have an answer. A body doesn't just move itself. A hand doesn't just, after a dog decides to take it, when her left arm is actually, David's legs are close to her arm and her hand is underneath her abdomen. Like the dog digs in there and just grabs a hand and then puts the arm back, and then let me take just this hand, and somehow with the couch this close, I'm going to get in and I'm going to gnaw up a head. Hard bones. Would it be so much easier to get to other areas of her body that are exposed if the dog indeed were to be doing this? And then I spoke with coroners who stated that in order for her larynx to be gone, her hyoid bone to be gone, remember, she's face down. That dog would somehow have to be able to get its muzzle, and I know this is gross, so understand, but what's left of her head, the dog would have to dig its face down into that open area to get to that hyoid, to get to all that neck tissue. But there's no proof on that dog that there isn't any matted blood on his fur. There's no odd positioning of the head that shows anything like that happened. So this tells you that all of these injuries occurred prior to body placement. And again, let's go back. There is no high velocity blood spatter anywhere. Not in any of the pictures that I have seen. And they have sent photos of every single room in that house. Every room. You can look at those walls, you can look at the ceiling, you can look at the floor. There is no high velocity blood spatter, which is what you would get from gunshot wounds. Now, that tells you, A, they were not killed in that house or in those rooms, or B, something was placed over their heads, or C, the room was covered in some type of protective layering before all of this began. This is not, and if David was on this murder-suicide mission, why would he go to all that trouble? And people are saying that he was despondent and he was upset and crazy. Go back over my video that I did of his last email to Jason Allen. That's not the rantings of a crazy man or someone who's depressed or someone who's psychotic or someone who's on the verge of breaking. There are lists in his house that talk about where he's taking gray state in 2015. Not people who go around committing murder, suicide don't plan for the future. There are notes where they talk about how much they love each other. Not done by someone who commits murder-suicide. It just isn't. And a suicide note that was typed on a screen that anybody had access to, including the police officers? Where's the proof it was written by David? They have none. There's no proof. And again, I want those police officers, I want that medical examiner, I want you guys all to explain to all of us how you came to your conclusion, how you can sit there and say Paleo ate those body parts, only specific body parts, which would all contain evidence of abuse and torture. The neck, the head, and the hands. We know no other body parts were hurt, but what is missing? The neck, the heads, and the hands. Unfortunately, they did leave behind a fractured rib on Rania. You cannot convince me, with as much as David loved his little girl, loved that family, loved his wife, that he would fracture his little girl's rib. I'm not buying it. Do I see other people that are involved doing it? You darn right I do. These people who are jealous, these people who were mad because David was distancing himself from them. He was taking back control of his project because they were trying to take control. And now they're claiming that they have rights. Who is it? I'm not sure which one it is, but his dad is also one of them. If your name is not legally associated with that project, which it was not, you do not maintain those rights. They're not passed down. David didn't leave a will stating, at least you haven't provided one, where he hands over artistic authority and rights to anyone. Those rights legally remain David's for the next, I thought it was 50 years, but it turns out to be 70 years. Don't think we won't be watching. And if I see anything on that, if I see you guys come up with anything that all of a sudden starts to come on TV, I'm going to challenge you in a court and in the public to prove that you have copyright and that David handed it over. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of the threats. I'm tired of people thinking that you can do whatever you want. Whatever happened to this family is horrible. You found an easy scapegoat, David. You have no proof it was him at all. None. No gunshot residue on his hands. No gunshot residue on his clothes. No gunshot residue on the floor. Nothing. No gunshot residue was tested or found. Maybe, I don't even know if he tested for it. Not on Komel, not on Rania. And in fact, they couldn't even find it on their head wounds. Not even on Rania's head wound. What does that tell you? He did not do this. Look at the list of inconsistencies. Look at this list of people who knew him, who all had something to either do with, knew him, had an investment in this entire project. I have cleared, beyond a shadow of a doubt, the only two people I have cleared are David and Komel. I can find nothing that gives motive for either of them to do this. I find motive, opportunity, and everything else with several others that knew him. Motive means an opportunity, I think, is what it is. And then you have your other little people who want their 15 minutes of fame or whatever, who keep injecting themselves and creating a lot of chaos. Toss them aside. They're not worth the time or energy. But again, remember, look at, I'm going to put those two slides up one more time, two pictures. Look at the body positions and explain. Police officers of Apple Valley, Minnesota, please explain how her hand, and the ME, Dr. Lelinski, explain to me how a body that is placed like this, I see most of the head, here's the couch, close to where the head should have been. If her head truly was there, it probably would have been touching the couch. But you have that, and then the hand that's underneath the abdomen. How did that hand go missing?